in September just now.
So
Oh,
that's great.
okay.
You can tell it's
So
an online talk because we're doing everything completely different. So yeah, so I'll let you.
okay. So McKinsey just reported that 70% of EU consumers plan to either maintain or increase their spend compared to last year. And there are a whole bunch of statistics out there talking about how much we spend in during the holidays. Nothing new. But what kind of caught our attention is that 40% of shoppers will discover products in one channel, but then they're going to buy in another channel. So we're no longer talking about linear customer journeys. We're talking about omni-channel journeys and omni-channel strategies. Oh, hold on. So some things never change. We're still going to see everybody getting fuzzy on social media, but then struggling to reach sales targets in the background. But what is particular about this holiday season? Basically, the way we search. Combined traffic to AI search platforms hit 7.3 billion visits in July, which isn't much if you compare it to Google, but it's still a 156% increase year over year. And how we see that is that we have these AI summaries delivered by traditional search engines, and then we have all this AI search that's growing year on year.
So
Let's get into how
yeah,
we plan to strategize for Q4.
thank you, Emma. So yeah, so realistically, you should have already started by now. So if you're here thinking I need to start thinking about my strategy and planning and prep, well, that should have really happened in summer. I always have this saying like if you're a very seasonal brand, and it'd be good if people could just right now probably put in the chat like, tell me if you come from a B2B background, tell me if you come from a B2B commerce. Are you e-commerce? Are you B2B lead sales gen set, like lead sales focus? Because it kind of helps to kind of understand what kind of like demographics we've got. But you should have started this in August. Then September is kind of like the latest. This is the 29th of September, so we're going into Q4 from Wednesday onwards. So you should have already at the first stage run like full SEO and AEO audits. So, that's looking at everything from an SEO basic elements, which is a like technical. So you're looking at core web vitals, you're looking at, your structure of your site. You're looking at your URL formatting, your speed, your indexing. You're looking at your images in WP format, and then you've got to look at like your structured data in terms of how you're formatting that content in a more logistical way, so it's easy for Google to crawl. And then you got to look at the EEAT signals that comes from the algorithm, especially when it comes to Google. Then you got to look at like seasonal keyword demand in terms of what's coming in. So looking at tools like Google Trends, Planner, SEMrush, Ahrefs, or whatever it is you're doing right now. And then you got to test what we call prompt-driven keyword ideation. So an example of that is that what do people search for before buying winter jackets, etc. So I did a talk last week where I kind of simply explained what is SEO and AEO. So SEO, obviously search engine optimization, is all about ranking for a specific keyword. AEO, which we're calling answer engine optimization, or people are calling it GEO, which is generative engine optimization, or even GSO, which is generative search optimization. It all necessarily just means the same thing. It's all, are you working in LLMs like ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude, AI Gemini, etc.? And AEO just means answer engine optimization. And that's the keyword I'm going with because I don't want to call it GEO and GSO. And I think it sounds better. So these are the kind of prompts. And we're going to get into more of this in terms of like strategic tactics of what you need to do. Then obviously benchmarking against obviously search engine result pages, SERPs and AI overviews. So like, see if you're actually surfacing already. And then obviously you've got to be doing like an or audit your competitors for SERPs. Like who right now for seasonal product terms or for seasonal product searches or keyword elements already has the number one spot. And then from that, where are the gaps, for the holiday campaigns and where do I rank? We have a couple of activity playground clients. One's Williams Den, if anybody knows of it. It's an adventure playground. We have already done yearly blogs for like their Halloween event, their Winter Wonderland elements, for example. But we do them all year round, and we're always looking at who else regionally is ranking for those search engine result pages for around specific keywords. And now, going into this year, what our focus hasn't been really on keyword ranking, it's been more like, well, what's the most cost-effective, Christmas activity to do for the family? someone might put that into like an AI Gemini prompt for you. So it's again being the answer to what we're looking for. Next slide, please. So you've got your prep, which you should start August to September, and then you should have it finalized by September, and then you should be ready to build and optimize before October, going into October at the very least. So if you're coming into this and you haven't done any prep, get onto that straight away. You need to get that completed by this week. Then you get into build and what we call optimize. And from this is where you start actually launching what we call seasonal content hubs, landing pages, gift guides, like Black Friday hub, best deals winter 2025 guide in terms of blog or an article. You need to start testing your FAQ sections on your website, Q&A, like that features in like what we call search features that people also ask. Also, we know from FAQ sections in terms from answer engine optimization, it does quite well in terms of helping you appear for key AI prompts that people are typing into. Then you got like structured data. So you're gonna look at your FAQ schema, you're gonna look at any products and offers that you want to do, and then looking at the technical speed because you want to make sure the user experience is really good. You want to make sure that if you're, let's say, an e-commerce website, which is why I was asking people BTC. So Michelle Horn said BTC, key client has digital presence only, selling physical stores. You want to make sure that conversion process is really good. There's no lag in checkout. If you have optimized your content and you're driving quality traffic, the last thing you want is for your website to let you down. So make sure you're looking at it properly. A good way to look at this is to go into Google Analytics 4 and look at the user flow journey. It only shows the last 30 days worth of data, but it works quite well. And you can then see where are people dropping off when they get into product search or they get into key elements or key what I call money pages on your website before they convert. If they get into the money pages, you should have clear call to actions and you should be looking at conversion rate optimization to capture that. Another thing you can do is a free tool called Clarity, which is a Microsoft tool, it's part of like Teams and Copilot, and you can upload that through Tag Manager, and that'll give you a heat map of what's going on your site as well. And it ranks it from green and red to see where people are actually clicking on the site. So if you're again driving a lot of people quality traffic organically to your site, but people aren't converting, you need to be looking at this data now and optimizing and improving the user experience, looking at your core web vitals, making sure any product images in WebP format, and making sure everything's ready to go. Because the last thing you want to do is create all this content, rank, but your website lets you down in terms of sales. So some of you are marketing managers, some of you are agents working in agency, and we have to report back to clients or we have to report back to directors. We want to be in a position to say, well, we did the content, but it didn't deliver on conversion. So it's building and optimizing and looking at everything. Next slide, please. And then you get into November, 1 month before. I would say this is where you start intensifying and capturing what you want to do. So you start to push live, optimize holiday content. You re-audit product pages, looking at pricing, stock, return policies, which is quite critical for AI overviews and like shopping carousels that appear into Google. You want to start auditing internal linking to push authority to more what we call seasonal pages. A lot of people forget the value of internal linking. They create a page and they don't realize that if you've got a product or you've got a service that's very seasonal, what other content that's relevant, what other service pages should you be driving people to? So, for example, we drive people from our PPC page to SEO because it's all search, one's paid, one's organic, but you're still working within the Google platform. Recheck rankings, have a look at AI snapshot in terms of like your visible weekly in terms of what's coming in from an AI point of view. And then you got to look at any synergies. I always add this in because I know it's an SEO talk, but look at synergies between SEO and PPC. Don't cannibalize. I always say PPC seasonally should be there to help you get rankings to where you're not in position one, but then SEO should be where you've already got position one in terms of rankings already. Next slide, please. And then in the peak weeks, so like Black Friday, Christmas, you want to kind of monitor and react. So this is where you've got to get into like daily audits, in terms of what's going on. If you're an e-commerce company right now, then your daily audit is going to be really important. Looking at your technical in terms of like your crawl errors, site health, page speed. You want to be able to make real-time changes to your SERPs and AI content. You want to make sure seasonal FAQs are updated with any problems you're having within your business, like shipping cutoffs. We have a furniture company. The furniture company has a clear delivery date update in terms of you need to order by, the first week of December in order to get your furniture for the Christmas period, etc. Stuff like that. So if you've got cut-off dates, delivery dates, make sure they're very, very clear and you're optimizing that. And these all feed into like what we call AI snippets and AEO. Adjust the metadata for like urgency language, so like while stocks last, free delivery before X date. Again, these are more CRO tactics that you can do, but this is the stuff that you've got to monitor and react to based on the data you've seen. So if you've already done the prep and the strategy, you've already started to build and optimize, you've already started implementing, and then you reacting and monitoring to what kind of what's going on strategically. So these first four slides just kind of provide a bit of a template for anyone who's kind of like on this call in terms of like, what should I do? What kind of like time frame should I follow? That's there for you to begin with. Next slide. Post-holiday. So once you've done that and you've got all the way through December, early January, and we're all hungover from all the Yorkshire puds that we've had and all the chocolate, and we all decide to make New Year's resolutions to hit the gym, we need to retain and recycle. This is the biggest problem I see with like seasonal activity. It doesn't matter if it's Christmas or whether it's Easter. The same fundamental methodology applies to both. So when you get, ideally, you want to be planning for Easter in December and ready to go by February, if that makes sense. So if Easter is another key seasonal period for you, you want to be planning 3 months ahead. So take the same methodology you've just gone through, but do it. But remember, retain and recycle. You've got post-season adaptation. So January becomes the clearance month, your January sales for everything in terms of best deals. Optimize the evergreen content with intent, not just seasonal. So if you have good content that's done there, try and repurpose it and collect as much data you can with your visibility, your click-through changes in revenue impact. Also, what you can do is don't just delete the page from the back end. I know I haven't put that in here. Just remove it from your homepage mega menu and leave it active. And what you should do is every kind of quarter, just go back to and like tweak that page and make sure it's still having visibility. And you should be monitoring in your GA4 to see where it is. You should be monitoring in Search Console around keyword terms. You should be monitoring within like SEMrush to see where you're ranking in terms of position for a keyword related to that specific page. Because everything you do now for next year will become easier because then you can just repurpose that existing content and make changes and adapt it. Some people like I always do a yearly blog, which is like the top digital marketing trends for 2023, 4, 5, and I'll do one for 2026. And I always build on the existing one from the year before. Does that make sense? So I always archive the old one and then create a new one from the old one, if that kind of like makes sense. Probably not the best way to do it. I'll probably get a lot of questions about that. But for us, it does do quite well in terms of questions and creating the amount of traffic that comes to that landing page. Next slide, please, Sarah. So what do you need to include in your audit? I'm telling you to do all these audits. I'm telling you what to do. I'm giving you a time plan. What actually needs to go into all this? So here's the good bit. So technical SEO, crawlability index. You need to ensure you've got seasonal URLs that are indexable, not what we call orphan. You got to look at core web vitals. So make sure you're looking at, crucial during especially like high peak traffic. So when it comes to like constantly monitoring and reacting, you want to be checking your page speed and core web vitals, especially let's say on weekends when you got more people coming through. The most important time to look at it is Black Friday. So that'll be your first time or the major time when you're going to be selling a lot of e-commerce or FMCG style products. You want to kind of be looking at how well does your website test against a large volume of consumers coming on board. That's why having something like Clarity, that's why doing the user flow analysis is good because after that day, you'll be able to see how good your website performs coming from a conversion point of view. Mobile testing, holiday shoppers are 7% mobile first in terms of when they're looking for shopping. So make sure from a technical point of view, your content is mobile first. And then canonicalization and duplication checks. That's difficult for e-commerce brands, especially if you've got let's say Christmas socks, but you've got them in large, XL, medium, small, or by different ranges because it's the same product that might be a different page depending on how you've done your site, and it can come up with the same description. So you're going to try and make as much changes to description and avoid duplication as you can. Then you got the second stage, which is content and on page. So you got to start identifying those seasonal keyword clusters from transactional to informational. SEMrush is a great tool. It breaks keywords by intent. So you've got like transactional, informational, you've got by conversion focused as well. Then you can like create optimized like seasonal landing pages around deals like Black Friday, Christmas gifts by category. These are very broad and these are going to be highly competitive and they're going to be really difficult in terms of keyword difficulty ranking, but it's still something you can do over time and build. Then you got to do your on-page checks, check your titles, your meta, descriptions, your headers. Are they aligned with seasonal intent in terms of what you want to look for? These are all the key things that Google's algorithm and crawlbot's going to be looking for. And then when I call it seasonal rich content, so gift guides, blogs, FAQs, creating new content around the seasonal approach in terms of what you're doing, which is going to really help allow you to really focus your content around a specific term that's going to help people go. I always say, if you want an example, if you're an e-commerce client, go on to a website like Not on the High Street. I think we all probably know that brand quite well. Look at how they break their, mega menu down by different topics. You'll see and notice this throughout the year. They turn things on and off from their menu in terms of seasonality. So as soon as Christmas finishes, they'll turn on their Easter pages and put that in the menu. They've not actually physically turned it off in the background, but what they have is they've made it more visible in their homepage mega menu, and they've then started optimizing that content in time for that. So make sure you've got seasonal rich content, which can be used year round all the time. Next slide, please, Emma. And then you've got your structured data and schema. So your product schema, so prices, stock, offers, shipping deadlines. These are critical. So if someone's looking for a product or a Christmas idea, is like, how to like get, how to deliver, I don't know, flowers or something to my partner because I forgot it was a birthday the day before Christmas. I don't know. It could be something like that. It's typical. You want to make sure that those shipping deadlines information is in because that can be picked up. FAQ schemas, like season FAQs, will my order arrive before Christmas? We've talked about this in terms of like things you should be planning for. You need to get that information onto your site. You've got offer schemas, so stuff like Black Friday deals, Boxing Day deals. You might have Christmas Eve day deals, etc. You might have Cyber Monday deals. You might have a Halloween offer or bonfire offer. It doesn't really matter. Something that goes on. There's so many other seasonal activities that happen during that time, like Hanukkah, etc., all the way through. Then you got to check that your schema validation is in Google rich results as well. Then it switches straight to like link and authority building and doing a bit of an audit there. So like look at your internal link into seasonal hubs. Look at products that people might buy all year round, but then may also buy seasonally, and look at how you can link those products to seasonal hubs and implement those products in seasonal hubs as well. Work with any external agencies that you might have, or any external departments you might have, or internal departments, should I say, you have internally, like your PR, get them to start placing links from seasonal campaigns to seasonal content, quite, to, what you're trying to produce. There's no point creating all this content and just expecting Google to rank you. Build authority behind those pages, and then make sure you've got your authority and trust signals through the EAT audit guidelines. Next slide. Answer engine optimization. How do you actually audit for that? So the last two bits are just on this. So create a content plan that answers questions. Short, clear. I always say under 50 words. Make sure you've got AI snapshots, which will basically become like AI overviews essentially in format of like FAQs and Q&A on your site. Identify people also ask questions. There's a great tool that we use called phrase.io if you want to write that down. The good thing about that tool is when you go into it, it automatically scrapes the frequently also asked questions section of Google. So when you're creating content and you've got a topic cluster of keywords and you've optimized it and you've created that new content, it'll say, well, here's what also comes up in the FAQ frequently also asked within Google around these topic clusters and keyword clusters. So if you are doing that, identify, seasonal modifiers like best Christmas gifts under 50 quid, etc. Ensure brands product information is structured for AI, what we call parsing. So your how-tos, your comparisons, your FAQs again, and then optimize for what we call conversational queries. So like long tail. So if you're a regional product, look near me. So I think someone mentioned they only sell in physical stores. Well, then, localize, long tail keywords like that are going to be relevant to you. Then competitor benchmark. Mostly from an ad perspective, does seasonality become such a key issue with cost of impression, cost of click, because everybody's competing for the same bandwidth of the human brain or our human customers that we're all trying to go for. It's no different from an SEO and an AEO point of view. So look at who's already winning the AI overview snapshots for like Black Friday category deals. I just implore you after this just to go in and be like, Black Friday deals for X. Try and think of a product that you're thinking to buy just for yourself and start having a look at who's coming up and who's already there. Maybe do it for your own brands, your own companies, and see where you actually rank or if you rank, and then have a look at who does and who comes up and what kind of content comes up. And what you tend to find is when you look at the content, you realize we've already got these products, we've got all this information. Why are we not ranking? Because you're not optimizing the content or you're not submitted it, for example, within the sitemap. Look at who dominates the shopping feeds and the organic blends. It's quite important to see the shopping feed. Google isn't just tapping to Google. It's now got AI mode. It's got search. It's got images. It's got shopping. Have a look at all the different tabs. Have a look at video in terms of YouTube. And then that's where you get your content gaps and your quick wins. Where can we create content that our competitors haven't, that we can start winning within the SERPs quite quickly and optimizing content in the short term that might help. Next slide, please, Emma. So impact on AI overviews. So what I will say is search native engine snapshots will eat clicks unless you feed it clear structured answers, provide what I would call unique value in like create deals, product comparisons, maintain authoritativeness like reviews, mentions. If you're using Trustpilot, make sure you've got that prevalent. Google reviews are just as good. They help as much as anything else. Control product freshness. So Google loves up-to-date pricing. What we tend to do from an AI overview is look at people's Google My Business profile, do they have their reviews, and when was the last time someone posted. For the winter season, lean on like shipping date, stock, returns. These make these machine readable. Focus on price comparisons to schema. So you've got unique value to avoid commoditization. And we've got listicles and guides. So like listings as articles and optimize them for direct answer inclusion. So that's the impact it has on AI overviews in terms of what you're going to do and how it kind of works. Next slide, please. Emma. So deliverable time example. So September, you've done your full SEO audit. Pick your technical issues, draft your seasonal content. You've done this, so you should have already done this by now. Let's say October 1st to 15th, you're launching your Black Friday landing pages, you're pushing schema updates, then you got your internal linking audit. October 15th to 31st, so the second half of that month, you're pushing gift ideas and FAQs, you're doing that competitive snapshot checks, you're optimizing meta for urgency. Beginning November, you're refreshing deals, pricing daily, reviewing the AI snapshots and overviews and rankings weekly. Second half November, you're doing your health checks for Black Friday, you're monitoring traffic and conversions, you're pushing updated FAQs as live updates. Beginning December 1st to the 20th, you're doing Christmas specific deals, you're updating shipping cutoff information, you're re-auditing your internal linking. And then across December, going into New Year, you're making a sales pivot, you're just in schema meta descriptions, you continue to monitor AI snippets, and then post January, you do an audit, retain the best evergreen content that's worked quite well, that's delivered sales, conversions, quality, traffic, and rankings. You do your data analysis and learnings, and then you repeat that whole process for the next seasonal activity. And then you repeat this up again in late summer for next year. As simple as that. Next slide, please, Adam. So we're going to quickly talk about seasonal trends, keywords, and AI prompts. Because what we found is like, I can give you structure and a timeline and a strategy and planning for Q4, which is what we've just covered. And you've got a little bit of a framework there now, which is why we give the slides out. But the next stage is to kind of like look at like keyword research. So what should you do as an overview? Look at seasonal peaks. Black Friday, Cyber Monday, Christmas, Boxing Day. They tend to be your four seasonal peaks and look at keyword research around that. Use tools like Trends, Keyword Planner, SEMrush, Ahrefs focus on transactional intent more at this stage. So like Black Friday TV deals, capture informational queries like Christmas gift ideas for dads. That's why I always say the Not on Your High Street is a good one because when you start typing in some of these queries, they always appear for this kind of stuff. Local modifiers. So I know we already mentioned someone always spells like only sells in physical stores near me. So UK shipping before Christmas, stuff like this. Next slide, please. So use AI, what we call to brainstorm keyword gaps. So you can go into like LLMs and ChatGPTs and type in what products do people search for before buying in winter 2025? Give trends by age group for Christmas 2025. A few days ago, I was at a Agency Hackers Summit and I was attending a talk by Mark Rickson. Some of you might know who Mark Rickson is. He's quite well known in the industry. And he was talking about how ChatGPT and LMs are removing the need for doing market research, essentially. Like they do a lot of market research, but it's irrelevant because the quality of AI doing market research is just as good as us doing our own qual and quant kind of research in terms of how it comes through. So use AI to brainstorm keyword gaps. I always recommend this because you've got AI Gemini, which you should be using to improve your headlines and descriptions for, let's say, your Google Ads. But you should also be using these tools to improve the basic elements and improving your time response. Gone are the days of using an Excel sheet and putting everything in there. You don't need to do that anymore. Although those people in the chat that still do a good Excel sheet, my praise to you because, who knows how to do, VLOOKUPs and all that. We all know those days, when you create a nice Excel sheet, but no one appreciates how long time it took to create and format. AI can do that. It provides it all for you. ChatGPT, AI Gemini, Claude, Perplexity. So look at generating long tail queries and conversational phrasing. Engage with these platforms. Extract, people also ask in FAQs. I mentioned this. We use a tool called Spotlight. So if you go to get/Spotlight, you can actually get a breakdown of AI overviews you're currently ranking for, but also your competitors across multiple LLMs. Cross-check AI generated lists with search volume tools. So use SEMrush, Ahrefs, Screaming Frog, and stuff like that against the list that tools that are coming up from AI Gemini. Next slide. If it goes to the next slide. Example AI prompts for seasonal exemption. So you're probably like, well, that's all good and well said, Manny, but what the hell does that even mean? So for our Black Friday focus, you would put in generate a list of long tail keywords UK shoppers might use in October, November 25 when searching for Black Friday. You can input your product category and then put some deals in there. Now, it's probably weird me telling you to go to ChatGPT and do this kind of seasonal keyword and expansion, but this is the future. This is how we're doing keyword research. We're using AI tools and different tools and custom tools to do keyword research, to look at keyword topics and clusters. If you're not, you're wasting time, you're wasting efficiency, and you're not probably getting the best results quickly than you want. Another example is like what questions do people typically ask online before purchasing said product before Black Friday? Provide 20 examples formatted for FAQs. The tool's there to help you. You can do that. Obviously, you don't want to copy and paste the exact FAQs and implement on your website. That's not something I'm recommending, but use it as an example of what to think. Look at what it pulls up and then look at, because remember, it's done by a specific product or service. Then look at your site. Does your site answer those questions? Then you go away and do the keyword research and look at the user flow analysis to see, well, actually, what are people actually searching for? Then you start putting those 20 FAQs into Google and see what comes up and who comes up and how they formatted that question. So it is still a bit of a process when you think about it, taking it from using AI prompts to do keyword expansion to what you have to do physically next in terms of the next steps and how it all gets integrated. Final one is like, create keyword ideas combining best, cheap, and top rated for X product for Black Friday shoppers in the UK. Let it do the work for you. And then optimize it in your tone of voice, rewrite it if needed. You've got the option, you've got the examples there. Just a few more examples. What are people actually focusing on? So, like, someone might put in, what are the best Black Friday TV deals in the UK this year? Are Apple products actually cheaper on Black Friday, or is it a scam? This is some of the research that we've done, which is why I'm putting these in terms of what actually comes up when we're using Get Spotlight and use this as an example. Top 10 Black Friday laptop deals under 500 quid in 2025. You see how everything from structurally in the first section we talked about in terms of, your schema, your structured data, and everything you need to do. This all supports what people are putting in to like AI into like AI tools like ChatGPT, like top 10 Black Friday deals under £500. You see what I mean? Where can I buy the cheapest PS5 bundle? I'm an Xbox guy, so I didn't like that one. And then which retailers have the longest Black Friday returns policy? So you need to have like a returns policy element to it. So I'm not just saying these manual basic things like our returns policy FAQs. This all has a positive impact if you want to appear for AI prompts, whether they're in AI Gemini or if they're in ChatGPT or Claude Perplexity, because this is what people are using these tools for now. And this is the questions they're asking in. And when it pulls out that information, you want to make sure it can crawl your site because you need to make sure it's technically strong. You want to make sure that information gets pulled through and you become the answer. If you're the answer, they're more likely to go to you to then follow on with the conversion process because you're already in that zero click area. You're already at the top of their funnel in terms of what you want to do. So when you start seeing the examples of how you should use it to support you in terms of research, because it's a busy period, but also what potential customers are typing in, you can start to see why it's important to make those changes to your content and plan ahead of time. Next slide, please. Slide delay.
So this is for the Christmas focus.
Oh yeah, sorry, I didn't even see that. I didn't see it a little bit change. So the Christmas focus again. This is what was coming up. What are unique Christmas gift ideas for dads who love cars? I mean, for me, it's like getting like a cool Iron Man little head bubble. Last minute Christmas gift I can still get delivered before UK December 2024. That is going to happen. Consumers are last minute. Not to be sexist, but guys, we all do it. We all go on the last weekend and do it, and we're the ones that cause the car park mayhem in White Rose and all these shopping centres. What's a good Christmas present for a 12-year-old who likes gaming? You see how different kind of questions and AI prompts might come in. And that's the difficulty and the challenge you're going to face is like how many different things, but it creates opportunities and gaps for you to start plugging in where your product or service fits for a specific ICP, ideal customer profile, and what you can do. Give me a list of sustainable, eco-friendly Christmas gifts under 30 quid. How do I host a Christmas dinner on a budget? What should I buy? And that's food related. You see, these are what people are typing in. And these are the kind of optimizations from a content seasoning you need to start doing. And the plan and strategic view and the detail I've already given you helps you optimize for these kind of AI prompts and responses around seasonality. And this year is all about a learning year. It's all right, you can go to the next slide, Emma. But next year, this will come more into the forefront. So if you're doing this now, you're going to be ahead of the game from against a lot of brands out there that are still asleep at the wheel. But if you start doing this now, you'll start really making the most of it. So I've now talked about most of the obviously technical stuff and process and how it kind of works. And I'll pass on to Emma now, who's going to talk about the tacticals to gain visibility because she's the more of the content expert.
Yeah. Thank you very much. So we're going to zoom in on behaviors just because it's an important point. So users behave differently on Google versus AI tools, and Mani's already touched upon that. But as you know, Google users tend to use very short keyword queries like best Christmas gifts, whereas AI users give a lot of context. Give me 5 Christmas gifts, ideas for my dad who's 60, loves cooking, and so on. But also the platforms work differently. And if when you create content for Google and you optimize for Google, a single page can rank for dozens of related keywords. You can have a long blog post that covers what are the top video games in 2025, and then subsections with top racing games and top sporting games and so on, and you still get traffic. But with AI tools, the broader it is, especially if you're a smaller company and don't have that much authority online, the less chances that you're going to be mentioned in the answers. So because they scan and they extract the clearest, most direct answer to a specific question. So we're in this answer first mentality phase. People are done opening 10 tabs and scanning for blog posts like it's 2012. If they don't have it on a silver platter, then they're probably going to move on. So we're in this 0 clicks era that you've already probably heard of. The good parts, the 2 good things about it is that by the time someone lands on your site, they're already 70% down the funnel. So there's less searching for information. They're more in a decision-making mindset. And AI tools do all the heavy lifting. So the summarizing, comparing, recommending, you're sort of part of a shortlist when someone arrives on your site. The bad part about that is that the most important brand interactions sort of happen off-site. So you don't see them, you don't track them, but they still shape the sale. So that's why it's important that if your content isn't AI ready, it probably won't get picked. So no summary, no visibility, and not a shot at a conversion, or not as many as you could. So how can brands come closer to reaching their holiday targets? Well, they show up where everybody's doing their research everywhere, not just Google. And they need to transform their content strategy so it doesn't focus solely on traditional search engines. What is important to mention here is that holiday consumer psychology is very different. So there's a sense of urgency that Manny mentioned. There are time-bound queries, next day delivery, Christmas gifts for my mother, in stock now, pick up today. There's a focus on gifting. So the user intent is to buy for someone else. It's one thing when you buy for yourself, you can easily filter through the information that is being fed to you. But when you're buying for someone else, the prompts have a lot more context. You're looking for ideas for a present for your niece, for example, or your nephew, a teenager who likes video games and basketball. There's a lot more context there. And there's less patience for long research cycles. Approximately 80% of search users rely on AI summaries at least 40% of the time during the holidays, if not more. So, and you might think, okay, we have evergreen content, but AI interprets differently seasonal queries because of three main things: how fresh the content is. Evergreen queries get AI tools pull it from stable, authoritative sources for evergreen queries because they're sort of generic. What's the best skincare routine for a teenager with oily skin? You get generic, timeless tips, broad product categories. Whereas with seasonal queries, they prioritize recent timestamp content because you get queries like, what are the best skincare gift packs on a sale for cold weather? So what are they? Which ones are on sale now that cover all these the gift packs on sale, cold weather? So they focus on this year's releases, and they often link to recent content like blog posts or product announcements. So basically, if your holiday content isn't fresh, if it doesn't have the 2025 or updated in November timestamp, it might get ignored. And there's also the context. So as I mentioned before, AI gives general answers for evergreen queries. So how to choose a winter coat, you'll get a whole list of coat types and materials and fitting advice. Whereas for the season, AI adds an extra layer of context because you ask something way more complex. Where can I buy a leather jacket at a reasonable price? And it's also for my mother. So don't give me ideas of something biker, Hell's Angels kind of thing. So you have these gift appropriate suggestions and shipping deadlines, and it's all very context based. And there's the time frames, as I mentioned before. So evergreen queries, the AI doesn't assume urgency. It gives broad advice, whereas with seasonal, it narrows to what's relevant right now. Where can I go for a cheap last minute New York City break, New Year city break? New Year is now, it's in 3 months. It's not, it won't pull from information from 3 years ago from an evergreen blog post. So if your structured data doesn't include stock levels, hours, location, you're probably not going to get mentioned. So let's get optimizing. We're going to go quickly because we're running out of time. We're going to go through how to create optimized topic landing pages with a mini case study, product descriptions, and what are the best formats. Let's start with topical landing pages. So whether you're a B2B or a B2C, there are some topics that are relevant right now to your business, even though you might think, yeah, but I'm a software accounting company. Yes, but many companies will now have their own wish list for next year, and maybe changing their software could be one of those things. So you want to create 3 to 5 topical landing pages that live on your website. Don't host them on a separate domain, because I've heard that as well. Weird thing to do. So how you do that is, well, as Manny mentioned, you need to research what your target audience is, and he's already covered that, so I'm going to skip that part or just briefly show you what I had in mind. Apply the best practices for an SEO optimized landing page, and I'm going to show you right now what that looks like. You write the copy and you publish ASAP because it's almost October already. So I'm going to tell you what we did. So we were optimizing for a new market. We wanted to enter a new market, and one of the short-term goals we had was to appear in these AI searches in the UAE, which was the new market. And what we did is we created this optimized landing page specifically for this market. We did a bit of digital PR, and we also optimized and we tweaked, let's say, the website wherever relevant. I'm not going to go into number 3 because I honestly don't think it moves the needle. I'm just going to go into number 1. We created this very simple landing page. We used Spotlight. We also use Spotlight. They're a partner. to understand what prompts people are using in that region. So we use that for H1, H2s. We then had we still have it, this small text box which sort of answers the question or sort of digs deeper into that topic. It doesn't have to necessarily be a question, the H1 or H2, but you go into a bit more detail in a text box. And then we have prompt focused FAQs. So since AI search optimization is quite new in general and even maybe less touched upon in that region, we sort of also had to anticipate the queries that might come sometime soon. So based on what exists and what we think will exist sometime soon, we created this FAQ. And also we did the backend, of course, optimization, the schema, structured data, everything that Manny already mentioned. We did some digital PR, and as you can see, it was nothing fancy. There were no big budgets for PR campaigns. We optimized our G2 account, our Google My Business, and we started publishing in established websites. So for us, it was LinkedIn and Medium. And Medium, it's like $5 a month, so nothing. And we already saw results under 5 months with Spotlight. So we started appearing because we're still there. Creative agency specializing in AI search. It started to show after 4 months. It was actually a bit over 4 months, but I'm gonna say 5 just to keep it as realistic as possible. But what I want to say with this is that it's very possible. It is too late in some senses, but it's not too late if you want to try something, and it still has time to pop up. I mean, by December it should be up. So I'm not going to go into this. You can do your research, just as Manny mentioned, with SEMrush, Ahrefs. We use Spotlight for AI brand visibility as well. And then we have the optimized structure for the landing page. So you're going to have the slides, and you can always just reach out and ask me if you have any questions, but it's more or less what I told you before. You have the title tag and the main question. I personally like main questions in H1. I find that they're the best. They're not just engaging and good from a copywriting point of view, but they're also literal prompts. You can use a prompt or kind of tweak a prompt and use it for the H1. Then you have the direct answer box where you answer briefly the question, or you kind of go into depth based on what you wrote in H1. And then you have follow-up questions. Those could be natural questions, prompts, whatever you consider. And then ideally you would also have some images, a call to action, the conclusion. That's also very important because they get the information from these little snippets of content. And then any structural signals. So if you're, for example, a coach, we don't have to be talking about big companies or SMEs. If you're a coach and you have a landing page and you want to do some sort of pack for the end of the year or beginning of the year, this is where you need to put your short expert bio, because it's one of the trust signals that you then add in the structured data to help with the authority. And then, I'm not going to go into the back end, as Manny's already mentioned the schema markup, and it's a whole thing. The back end, it's a whole thing. But anyway, I think we touched upon everything that was really important. And then just write the copy and publish. No time to waste. Then optimize product descriptions. So I'm not sure you're familiar with Cetaphil. They realized that their customers, Gen Z, predominantly use AI chatbots to do their research while they're in store before they actually buy the products, and they compare between Cetaphil and competitors. So one of the main places where AI tools is going to go to get this information is the website. So they reworked their product descriptions on the website so that it's more AI friendly. And this is something anybody can do. You just need to use direct language, no technical terms, and this is a best practice for SEO and in general. Cover queries, make sure, because what happens with AI assistants is they want to keep the conversation going, so they're going to suggest questions. Make sure you cover everything that might pop up, and also give it a logical structure. So short paragraphs, bullet points, no history novels. Then the format. So this one is quite, I really like this one. We have this knowledge hub, which is a sort of mix of types of content. And we found that this really helped us a lot. On this knowledge hub, we have these entries, which are direct answers to practical and tactical queries that are very, very short. And they sometimes, whenever relevant, they kind of redirect to other types of content, which is more long form. If you have they also connect to these blog posts. They redirect to blog posts where these queries, that's blog posts are more for queries that require exploration and storytelling and examples. And this is where you can make your brand really shine through copywriting. And then whenever we have queries that signal high intent or evergreen value, you create a landing page, like the landing page I told you about earlier, because you want AI tools to associate your brand with a specific query and topic. Okay, post holidays. Oh, I was quite fast. Yeah. I hope I didn't speak too fast. Just ask me any questions if you have any.
Yeah, we still have time, so just feel if you do need to jump off for another call or something at 3 o'clock. We've still got 6 minutes. We will be doing the Q&A, and it's all recorded, so feel free to put in your question and we'll make sure it's covered, and there'll be a video recording of this on the YouTube platform as well. So post holiday, just make sure you maintain momentum. I've already discussed this. When you get to January, evolve that evergreen content into like guides, top lists, etc. Data analysis. If you implement stuff like Clarity, look at useful analysis, look at your GA4 data, any other wider tools you're doing. The shift is away from click-through rate to revenue impact, and feed that into next year's strategy. What content worked? What didn't work? What prompts did we get? What didn't we get? What tactics worked? What didn't? And then evolve the content, pivot from Black Friday to best deals, etc. Update your FAQs, ongoing queries. The last thing you want is going into January and Easter is you've got Christmas delivery queries in your FAQs, but someone's ordering for, Easter, bank week, weekend, bank. I can't remember what it's called. Bank holiday weekend. There you go.
You can do it.
There you go. We can do it. We can get there. And then just quickly, part 2 of that is, authority building, keep seasonal backlinks live, repurpose intent for hubs. It's always on. I always say seasonal content. You never really turn it off. Continue answering queries directly. Keep that structured data in place for your product offers, FAQs, and make sure you've got year-round prep. The earlier you start, the better it is. Even though it's September, you still have time to start winning in like quick rankings for keywords and AI overviews by the time you get to Christmas, because there's just so much still yet available and so many queries out there for you to actually be part of that cycle. And then it will benefit you, even what you do now, next year more than it might do this year.
Yeah. I also wanted to talk to you about what Kanji did. I'm not sure if you're familiar with them. They're a cloud-based solution that centrally manages and secures Mac devices. Their target audience is IT and security leaders managing Apple devices, and they wanted to engage with their community and raise brand awareness. So what they did is they created a separate brand content. Now, obviously, you need a bit more capabilities for this and resources, but still, it was a great project that apparently worked very well for them. So all the content they're posting here, it sort of feeds back into Kanji as well. So they're gaining this visibility and traffic through a brand new brand. And since it's so niched, it's a good thing to do if you have the time and resources. Let's
a quick summary. Already covered most of this off. Is plan early, build in August, September, optimize by October, launch capture November. Make sure during peak weeks you're reactive and optimizing constantly, and then you prepare for post. Your key driver is going to be technical health, speed, mobile indexing, your seasonal content, schema and AI overviews, and fresh product stock data with clear answers, win visibility. That's the key things I'm going to summarize with.
So what I want you to take from this is that think about the holiday consumer behavior as different as the rest of the year. There's this sense of urgency. There's this different user intent. They're less time, less patient. So there'll probably be more AI searches. You need to optimize for that. The content needs to be structured and summarized. Create tactical landing pages based on thorough prompt and keyword analysis. And you're still in time to do that if you're quick, but you can still do that. And you have the template of how it should look like. Optimize product descriptions so they match user intent, and then choose the right format. This is actually something that could have impact as well. So based on search intent strength, is it high intent? Is it evergreen? Then it deserves a landing page. If you need to go into depth and have it and include examples, storytelling, it needs to be a blog page. If it's just an entry, like a query, and you can have here either a piece of content, obviously you need several of them, but you either include this as an entry on your website, or you have one query, one URL style entry. These are great for clean, schema wrapped, and easy to digest, let's say, by AI tools.
So we've already got a question in the chat. Feel free to come off mute and we'll stop sharing the presentation now and just go back to meeting view. Emma, there was a question from Ali. So thank you for your question. Ali says, we're a small B2B manufacturing engineering SME. What are the best seasons for us to plan content around besides holidays? Okay, so B2B tends to be a bit different generally from B2C in terms of
Yeah.
seasonality because there are clients from a B2C point of view where you will do seasonality. We're a B2B company, we don't really focus too much on seasonality, except we create content on how to optimize marketing around seasons. We help others people do that.
Yeah.
So that's the content we create. What you want to do is, if you're an engineering company, I don't know what it is you specialize in, you got to look at, well, what might impact your customers around that season. So if you're a boiler or a gas maintenance company, you want to make sure they've got their boilers in and, they've got their checks in, and you start planning that in summer during the busy period. If you have a busy period and you know you're going to get a lot of customer queries and responses, then you want to make sure that during that season, whilst it's busy, you put your FAQs in and ready for that period to answer as many questions as you can to help your customers. So that improves your brand, your visibility, and take it from there. Emma, is there anything you'd
I
probably
think you,
after?
yeah, I was thinking that I would also look into fiscal years when they end. Sometimes companies start budgeting early when fiscal years end, so that's a great time to start writing some content about how you can plan ahead for the next year. I mean, some I have a client, they end their fiscal year in March, and I already know I'm starting these conversations with them, and since we work together, it's kind of different, but still, I know that for those clients, I will know that I will need to send them emails or send them materials so they kind of know how they can optimize for the next year and what kind of budgets they need for, well, AI search optimization in this case, or whatever we're doing together. So I would look at that as a moment in time, a Christmas type of season.
Yeah. And one thing I'll just give as an example, because I always think examples help, is whilst I'm here in the UAE, I work with an automotive client to sell cars, and you sell cars all year round. But because of the heat, it's not as busy in summer. The one thing I will say is that by doing these optimizations around specific cars and elements and help them get it, and over summer, they've had the best summer in terms of access sales and inquiries compared to the year before. So it's a knock-on effect by doing it. So look at when your sales in your business are high and low, because that might be a bit of a trend for you as a business. It might not just be seasonal,
Yeah.
it might be financial trends as well. Next question we had from Michelle Horn was, would you place FAQs on the product page or on its own page? I'll just quickly say, I would say you should have your money pages or your cash cow products where you should
Yeah.
feature FAQs on a few, like your best selling products should have like one or two FAQs. And
Yeah.
then you should have an FAQ page as well. But that doesn't mean put an FAQ in every single page of every single product because that's just overkill and it's not going to help. And the answer isn't FAQs to get into AI overviews. What it is if you can answer a question as part of the content as well, change a H2, H3 header into a question instead of optimizing for a rank of keyword. So there's different ways you can optimize for questions and queries for AI as opposed to just putting an FAQ in every single a word.
Yeah, I'd also put one in the homepage as well. I mean, I don't know, it really depends on what your website looks like, but think key pages. As Manny said, key products, the best sellers, or maybe certain collections. If you have a new collection coming up, I don't know, assuming maybe you're a jewelry company or whatever. Any kind of key page, not any, but most key pages. Yeah, if you have a landing page, for example, for Christmas, because maybe you organize trips, Christmas trips, or that could also maybe, I mean, definitely should have an FAQ. Yeah, strategic pages, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Kirsty. I know people are jumping off, so we understand that. We're going to continue answering Q&A for anyone that has questions. Um, Ali had a follow-up saying, thank you And what about like with no paid tools? What's the simplest way to find low volume seasonal keywords? Using Google tools only? Damn
I use SEMrush as well. We use SEMrush as well. There's a free version on that, and it will give you some insights. It's not going to give you too much information, but we use SEMrush as well. I think we have Ahrefs as well. Also, you can get the free version. The free versions give you some sort of information. It's not. What do you think of the free accounts? I think they're quite decent. I mean, it's a good starting point.
It's a
I would
good
also.
starting point, but I'd
It's a
say
good
like
starting point.
Google Keyword Planner, Google Trends
Mm,
gives you a bit more insight. Obviously, premium features SEMrush do, but it's a lot of money, especially if you're a small company you don't have
yeah,
the
no.
budget for. There's a lot of trials available out there for
Yeah.
specific AI only keyword tools that you can look into. So I just Google some stuff and see what comes up. Um, if you go on our YouTube, Bobble, I did do a talk about um, supercharging your SEO with AI tools. And within that, there's quite a few tools that are very cheap and cost effective that you can do to look at optimizing content and doing keyword research. So I would just go and find that um, presentation and watch that. And that gives a good indication. I'll talk about keyword research and what AI tools are available for that in that one.
Yeah,
Do
if we're
you have
talking
any
about
other?
keywords, yeah, but
Yeah.
sorry, I just wanted to say that for prompts, I don't think there are any free tools for AI brand visibility. No, I didn't
Um,
even really see trials, to be
yeah.
honest. But
Ryan French has come with a question. He goes, when doing research via AI tools, would you run these through a keyword research tool to get a better breakdown, or do the AI tools already do this? I guess that depends on the tool you're using.
mm,
Um,
I mean, with Spotlight, they don't really give you keywords. They only give you the prompts. So we also have Uber Suggest, and Uber Suggest they're building this AI brand visibility tool. It's pretty much at the beginning, but it's decent, and you already have the Uber Suggest capabilities, which is purely keyword. But for example, I know that Semra, it was a Semrush or Ahrefs, one of these. They do also have an AI tool, so you can get both of them, but only for enterprises. So, but no, in general, I would say that AI tools they don't come with the keywords. They're strictly prompt.
yeah, you got like
You're
SEO.
talking about brand visibility, right?
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
it's SEO
probably.
rankings as well. But the
Yeah,
AI tool does do quite a bit for you. I can't remember the name of the one that I talked about. Just it was well over a year ago now. And that we tested, but we stopped using it because we realized that we had the capabilities within SEMrush to do the same thing instead of paying for
yeah,
an additional tool. And that's another thing you got to look at. There's so many AI tools. Have a look at ones that do multiple elements to make it cost effective because they're all just pulling from the same data. We use Get Spotlight
yeah,
like Emma does because it helps with AI prompts, and SEMrush doesn't really do that well yet. But we use SEMrush as our main tool because that allows us to do so many other things from basic rankings to keyword research and looking at elements like that. Um,
yeah.
yeah, so other than that keyword plan tool, I don't know anything else, but I hope that helps. Fine. Yes, but thanks. Do you have any other questions? Do people want to come off mute and just ask a question directly? If not, we will probably bring this to a close. Are there any last minute questions? Michelle Horn, last question. Do you have a preference of AI search engines or could you rank them? Um, the same way
For
we
me,
rank Google over Bing, my advice is my top four are going to be, or five, I say, is going to be ChatGPT, so OpenAI.
yeah.
You're going to have AI Gemini, which also includes AI mode. Then you're going to have Copilot, but it really lacks. I don't think it's that good, but I think it will come. But then you've got Meta's AI, and I think it's a shout between Claude and Perplexity at the moment. I'm not 100% sure which one's going to win out.
To me, it's ChatGPT all the way, and then second is Gemini. I wouldn't even Copilot. No,
Yeah,
definite no for me.
terrible.
No,
It's
terrible.
Microsoft and the data they have compared to the other ones and how it's
Then
integrated 365 is the only
then
reason
why aren't they doing something
Copilot.
better with it?
Because
I
it's
don't know.
Microsoft.
It's
I
Microsoft.
think that
What
just
a
explains
Oh
everything.
my God,
Um,
honestly, man.
they have all
And
the
then
data and all, but do nothing with it.
truly. And then the third, I would say I like Perplexity. I think it's quite, I really like the suggested queries. I thought generally, they're very insightful, sometimes more
I got
insightful than
I got a question for you
ChatGPT.
then. The difference between
Mm.
Perplexity and Claude, just for the audience, which ones do you prefer and why? What's the strength of each one?
I like Perplexity better. I don't, I, when it, Claude, I don't know. I find that it's sometimes very vague. It doesn't give me what I'm looking for. Whereas Perplexity, I feel it kind of reads my mind better, and the queries they could come up with, the suggested queries, are very, very good. Very, very good. So to me, maybe I would say I prefer it because of the suggested. What about you?
Um, yeah, I'm more Perplexity than Claude. But I
Yeah.
think Claude's responses in the engine itself are a bit more clear and better. And I think that's where it has the edge, in my opinion, when it comes to content. But that's it. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Ben. I know people are just jumping out. I don't think there's any more questions, and we're a bit overrun. Um, Everything will be sent out. Thank you. There'll be a recording of this that'll go online, and so if you want to watch it back, and then the slides will be available and sent out to everybody who signed up. So thank you for joining. Enjoy the rest of the
Thank
Leeds
you.
Digital Festival. Big shout out to Emma, who put all this together. This was her idea and her talk. So big shout out, and do reach out to Emma or myself for questions, and I'll all be available in the follow-up emails. Thank you guys. Enjoy the
Thank
rest of the
you.
week.
Have a
Bye.
great day. Bye.
Oh, thank you for all the comments and likes. I'll remove them manually. I think it's just us three now. Are we all
All
still
done.
in?
Can I stop recording?